So what do these new poll results tell us about the 2024 race? Niall Stanage is here right now, White House columnist for The Hill. Okay, so first off, this poll confirms what we already knew. Americans don't want either Biden or Trump to run again, but if they both do, they would love a third-party candidate. Half of Americans say that. So I guess Decision Desk HQ wanted to see where people's heads were. 17% wish that Michelle Obama would run for president. So what does that tell us about what Americans, at least a significant percentage of them, really desire for who leads this country?
It says quite a lot, Adrienne. It speaks firstly to the dissatisfaction with the two frontrunners on each side, President Biden and former President Trump. I think it's significant that Michelle Obama is not really a political figure in the sense that she's never run for elected office. I do think there's an appetite for somebody who hasn't been sort of enmeshed in the establishment. I also think among Democrats, it really points to the fact that there's frankly a dissatisfaction with President Biden and a hunger for someone else. But who that someone else is not obvious. If you break that poll result down among Democrats, Michelle Obama scores more than twice as much support as the next Democrat on that list, which is the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg.
But what does it mean that people want Michelle Obama to run? They want a fresh face. They want somebody who's for children. They want someone who isn't a savvy political figure, which, of course, we can go back and talk about how former President Trump was not a savvy political figure, and look what he did. But in terms of the heartbeat of that 17% of Americans, they want something new.
They do want something new. It's worth just underlining the obvious, which is Michelle Obama is very popular. When she brought out her memoir, it was one of the biggest selling books in history. But I think, again, it is that question of can we find someone who honestly sort of feels like an authentic human rather than a sort of political robot. And I think she is very good at that. And I think that's why her approval rating with the American public is typically higher than, say, the Democratic Party or more established politicians, because people see an authenticity in her. People see, I think, compassion in her. And obviously people who were supportive of her husband see a potential continuation of those kind of ideas.
Okay, and I'm really trying to get to what people want, because that's a pie-in-the-sky idea that she would run for president. She's not. But in terms of who believes the country is on the wrong track, 86% of Republican voters believe the country is headed in the wrong direction, 54% of Democrats. What are we attributing this to? Are Democrats happier right now?
I think typically what you find is that the supporters of one party get happier when their president is elected. Those numbers, when that question is asked historically in polls, flip whenever a president of the opposite party is elected. So if the Republican wins next year, I would expect Democratic dissatisfaction to shoot up and Republican dissatisfaction to fall. But look, Adrienne, I think the broader question here is really important, and it's one that we have spoken about at times before. People feeling that the political system is not really responsive to their needs or their priorities, feeling that it's disconnected from their day-to-day concerns, too bound up in sort of red team or blue team shouting talking points at each other. So I think all of that goes into that wrong track number.
Okay, so education. Education is going to be a big talking point this election when it does come to deciding what gets taught in public schools. Voters identified the state boards of education deciding what gets taught, 26%, ahead of parents, seen as 25%. Voters saying that they believe mom and dad should decide who gets taught what in school. I mean, is this number surprising at all?
It is surprising. It's more interesting when you look into what they call the crosstabs in political polling, which is the party breakdown. Because what we see is that question that you have on screen right now is one that is separated sharply according to political affiliation. So, for example, Republicans are far more likely to think that parents should be the deciding force in those questions. 37% of Republicans think that, against 10% of Republicans thinking it should be the State Board of Education. Those figures are almost exactly reversed with Democrats. So I think, we've had a lot of heated and divisive debates about education in this country, especially during and the immediate aftermath of the COVID pandemic. Those partisan or ideological schisms are still very, very present on this question.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.